Shalom. This week we read the last parasha in Sefer Vayikra. We conclude the book of Leviticus, the final Torah portion of this book, Bechukotai, beginning with verse 3 of chapter 26. Bechukotai, in my ordinances. The parasha begins, if you will go in my ordinances and observe my commandments. Lots of questions on this week's Torah reading. It's a difficult parsha, begins with very beautiful blessings that are promised, that are guaranteed, physical blessings of prosperity and security and safety that are guaranteed to the people of Israel if, as God says, you will go in my ordinances. And then we have some difficult curses that we find are going to be the consequences, the results of not following the ordinances. And first of all, what kind of an instruction is this, where God tells us, if you will go in my ordinances? Is this a particular commandment? It's followed by the words, and you will observe my commandments. This is very general. What does it mean to go in my ordinances? Is this some sort of separate mitzvah? And what does it mean to go in my ordinances? What is the nature of these blessings that we're going to receive? They seem very physical, but we're going to receive them if we are good spiritually. And our commentators speak about this a great deal. And actually, there's a number of important questions that are raised about this whole concept, because we've been taught very specifically by our sages that this world is really not the place of reward, that this is not a question in this world of receiving reward for the deeds that we do. That is actually the next world. Furthermore, as it also says in Pirkei Avot, chapters of the Fathers, in addition to the fact that this is not the place of reward, we're not supposed to think about reward. Haven't we learned specifically in the Mishnah of chapters of the Fathers, don't be like a servant who serves his master on the condition of receiving a reward. Rather, be like a servant who serves the master not for the sake of receiving a reward. And here, the way everything is set up in this parsha, it seems like, bang, if you don't follow my ordinances, then God will visit all of this punishment upon us. It seems, perhaps, someone might think vindictive, this kind of concept here that's expressed here to us of reward and punishment. But actually, this is not the case. And what this parsha is really teaching us, what these words are really showing us, is something on a much deeper level. This is not really so much about reward and punishment as it is a revelation of the very nature of the universe. This expression, Bechukotai, my ordinances, my statutes, the word chok, an ordinance also in modern Hebrew, chakika, the enactment of a law, legislation, the ruling, if you will. It's also chakuk, it's also engraved. This legislation, the statutes of how the world works, is engraved, chakuk, on the very pillars that hold up the entire universe. And the relationship that we have with the Creator when we go in His way. Im bechukotai telechu, if you will go in my way. This is not just about observing the commandments, it's about an entire lifestyle. Going implies movement, growth, constantly changing, walking and living with these ordinances. This is the relationship that means that we are essentially not going against the grain of creation, not going against the universe, but that we are one with the universe and doing our best to ensure its health and well-being by following the statutes that keep the universe functioning. So it's not so much about reward and punishment that we're learning here, but rather about perhaps what we might refer to again as the concept of reciprocity, of cause and effect. We find a very revealing verse in Jeremiah chapter 33 where God tells us, if it would not be for those occupied in my covenant day and night, then I would not have placed the ordinances of heaven and earth. In other words, if it would not be for my people studying my word, being occupied with my covenant, the Torah, day and night, I would not have placed the very pillars of heaven and earth. The ordinances that keep the universe functioning are based on your relationship, says God, with my covenant, with Torah. We are taught consistently that God brought forth creation with ordinances, with statutes. There are ordinances that keep the world going. We find in Book of Psalms 148, and he established them forever and ever. He made an ordinance which shall not pass. And all of these verses essentially teach us that the entire universe moves according to these ordinances, these chukim, that he set for them. And the slightest deviation causes a terrible spiritual upset and imbalance and brings not so much punishment, but rather repercussions. So this is really what we have to understand. God is telling us, if you go in my ordinances, if you grow, if you move, if you live according to my chukim, then the chukim, the ordinances of creation, are upheld. But man is the key. For, says God, if not for my covenant, I never would have placed the ordinances of heaven and earth in the first place.